only place you play in the SEC that's not hard to play is Vanderbilt.
Well, look at you now.
You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds. Nerds!
Only place you play in the SEC that's not hard to play is Vanderbilt.
So listen.
Diego, you just beat the #1 team in the country. What's going through your mind right now?
It's literally all God's timing. Literally from the jump. God gave me a vision when I was a little kid. And he won't let back. And he promises if you look at this. Get him on the turn.
Hey, sir, this is 10-4 to ask for any officers free within the county to report to downtown.
22, go close, past 2nd Avenue, approaching 1st, large crowd in front of National Under.
Central Command dispatch to all units. Any available units that are 10-8, please switch to P104 Central Air and respond to the Broadway area of 40 of 400. High speed on Q55.
I'm reporting at 406. You want to start while we're carrying cold?
400, Spectre, my understanding is their goal is to go to goalpost into the river.
Number 23, we're crossing over first to Broad, head towards the river.
Number 22, into the river, passing the flagpoles.
23, goalpost is in the water.
2406, the goalpost is in the water.
23, goalpost is in the water.
2406, the goalpost is in the water.
Welcome back into the Door Report, episode 285 on a lovely fall-feeling evening, Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. I am Will Byrum, joined by my victorious, world-shocking co-host, Trevor Hulan, a.k.a. Hack Squat, Jim Duggan. We have a ton to get it into on episode 285, so I'm going to get this out of the way right now before I forget. We are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're an Alabama fan, if you're a Kentucky fan, if you're a Vanderbilt fan, and you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay for an unmatched selection of sports cards. Shipping is always fast and free, and that direct link is going to be www.615collectibles.com/str/615collectibles. Did I say that right?
Sounds like it to me.
That sounds right to me. And we will be working on getting a TDR coupon code as well for like 20 or 25% off or something.
Dude,
so we'll be working on that. We are presented by 615 Collectibles, so check them out on eBay. Trevor, let's get into the actual episode.
Before we do, though, I have a question for you. Who's got it better than us, baby?
Nobody!
Not a soul in the world has it better than the Doors right now.
Phoebe did not like that one.
She just wants to be in the camera a little bit more. All the knickknacks that we have acquired have taken up her space.
Vanderbilt upsets the number one team in the country, the undisputed, basically, number one team in the country, coming off a victory over the Georgia Bulldogs. Vanderbilt beats Alabama 40-35, throws the goalposts into the Cumberland River almost 3 miles away from campus. Vanderbilt was the story of college football on Saturday and possibly, more than likely, had the upset of the season and game of the season. I won't say game of the year because that usually implies something else, but upset of the year. The game that at the end of the season and all the recaps that the celebration is going to be shown and all the montages and clips, Vanderbilt's part of that.
Yeah.
Front and center. Vanderbilt had a true college football celebration scene.
Yes.
A unique scene that encaptured the country. And that has never happened before.
No, I said this on the I said this on the spaces. I've said this on Twitter. I've said this to people in person. I firmly believe this. This is the greatest upset of the 21st century, bar none. I would argue this is the greatest college football upset of all time. People are going to say App State, Michigan. No. Vanderbilt dethroning the number 1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide is the greatest upset in college football history. I never thought we would be able to say that. I never once thought we would be able to say that, Will.
So we got a submission. I want to play this in the intro. And also, everybody talks about the App State, Michigan. I was just pulling this up to 100% confirm. That was an insane upset. I remember it.
Yeah, I remember. The second greatest upset.
But Michigan was number 5.
Yeah.
They were not the number 1 AP team in the country. Vanderbilt, have there been bigger spreads that have been covered and beaten as underdogs? Yes. Vanderbilt was a 22-point underdog against Alabama. Has there been a more unexpected victory that I mean literally no one outside of some diehard crazy Vanderbilt fans, and I'm not even one of them. You're not even one of them. We had a little why not us moment, but our actual predictions were Vanderbilt was going to lose.
Yeah.
No one saw this coming across the country. No one. So we got a submission from longtime listener, one of the dogs. Heel J. Will. I think Trevor listened to a portion of it.
I listened like the first 2 seconds.
I have listened to none of it. I heard the beat at the beginning
that's
of
what I
this,
heard.
about a 56-second submission from Heel J. Will. We have not seen this. Heel, thanks for the submission. Let's see what you got.
Them haters were telling me, always in the message boards, Clark Lee ain't about this. Clark Lee ain't about that. My boy a BA and MS in political science from Vanderbilt. They say you don't be putting in no work. Shut the F up. Y'all naysayers ain't no shit. All you mother effers talking about, Coach Lee ain't no hitter. Coach Lee ain't this. Coach Lee a fake. Shut the F up. Y'all don't be with that hitter. Y'all know he was a 2020 Bulls semifinalist, locking up the ACC and shit. That man been coaching since I don't know when. Man, stop playing with coach like that. Them hitter savages out there. If I catch another naysayer talking sweet about Clark Lee, I'm taking belt to their ass. I'm not even playing no more. You know them hitters run with Barton Simmons and them.
Banger.
What?
Certified banger.
What a message from Heel J. Will. Heel J. Will, who has been a Clark Lee truther, A1 day one, when everybody lost the faith, including myself. Heel J. Will was on the message boards, was on Twitter, absolutely riding for Clark Lee. Heel, take your bow.
Take your bow.
Let them know on Twitter that you never lost the faith. That was for you. You deserve this.
I have notes written down. We're still in the intro here. I have some notes written down a little bit, but mostly this is just going to be off the dome.
Yeah.
Me and Trevor are just going to talk through the emotions. We're obviously going to recap the game. We're actually going to do a drive-by-drive recap.
Yeah.
We haven't really done that this season outside of Virginia Tech, really.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go through the stats, box score. I'm not sure what order there. And then we're just going to tell our stories about the celebration.
Yeah.
About storming the field, tearing down the goalposts. And then we will have our 3 key takeaways, but generally I think those are going to be pretty quick, so we're just going to talk about the game.
Yeah.
And then after the TDR cocktail break, we actually have to preview Kentucky.
Yeah, big game.
We actually have a big game upcoming for the Vanderbilt Commodores, traveling on the road to face Kentucky in Lexington, coming off a bye week, 6:45 p.m. Central Time kick on SEC Network. So we have a lot to get into on episode 285. Before we get into all that and much more, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes. It's now time for segment 1.
Let's go, Chuck! Let's go, Chuck! Let's go, Chuck!
Welcome back into segment 1 of episode 285 of The Door Report, recapping and reacting to Vanderbilt's world-shocking victory over number 1 Alabama 40-35. I'm going to try to not play any more clips. We will see if that happens. There were so many good and so many bad national media clips surrounding this victory for Vanderbilt. I would say, actually, shockingly, about 70 to 80% of what I saw from media was giving Vanderbilt credit.
Yeah.
Was giving them credit, saying this wasn't a fluke, it was an upset, but this was not an accident. And talking to human beings, I had a co-ed softball game last night, and of course, and work, and everybody knows I'm a Vanderbilt fan.
Yeah.
Almost every casual football fan that's a diehard fan of another team watched that game and said, Vanderbilt beat them.
Yeah.
I can't believe what I just saw. And I think that was the reaction of 80% of media, 95% of fans, unless you're a Crimson Tide fan.
Yeah.
You watched that game and said, Vanderbilt came out and beat Alabama. Alabama didn't lose that game to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt beat Alabama.
Yeah.
So there was a great clip from Scott Van Pelt, one of the last remaining pieces of talent at ESPN. But Scott Van Pelt was breaking down the Vanderbilt game, so I'm going to go ahead and play that clip here from his podcast.
Diego Pavia today, Alabama couldn't get him off the field. And that's the truth. He accounted for 300 yards plus. Vanderbilt possessed the ball for 42 minutes because Bama's defense couldn't get him off the field. That's not a sentence that's ever been said out loud. When I see this, I'm going to say it every time. It was an upset, but it wasn't an accident. Because it's a massive upset. They're 22-point underdog. So it's an upset. But it wasn't a fluke. Historically, there's no precedent for it. Vanderbilt's never done it. They've forever been the punchline. And today they weren't. And as a program, they're not. Like, this is the kind of thing that is a step forward. They're not in the same weight class week in and week out, but they're also not the punchline that they were. And all credit to them for that.
That summarized it pretty well from a national media
Yeah.
perspective.
Mhm.
I mean, some of that hurts a little bit talking about Vanderbilt being the punchline, but Vanderbilt fans know that.
Yeah.
They know that's the case, and you're always fighting against that as Vanderbilt. And for once, you didn't just hang close. You didn't just get a lot of eyes on you, and man, Vanderbilt almost did it. And like you said, there is no precedent for this. Like Scott Van Pelt said, that's a lot of what we're going to hit on. There's very few cases you can say literally there is no precedent for this. I'm going to say the stat because it's been said multiple times. Everybody listening to this knows it. Vanderbilt was 0-60 versus AP top 5 teams going into this game. Number one, when I heard that stat, I went, holy hell. Vanderbilt has played 60 games against AP top 5 opponents. That's crazy. But I'll tell you one thing, Trevor. If you're an AP top 5 team, you ain't beaten the Vanderbilt Commodores 61 times in a row.
No,
I will
sir.
tell you that.
Give
I
me
will
some, big
tell you
dog.
that.
No, sir.
But also, Vanderbilt was 0-10 versus AP number 1 teams. If you're an AP number 1 team, you ain't beaten the Commodores 11 times in a row.
No.
I'll tell you that. I will guarantee you that.
Absolutely. And something that he hit on and that you hit on, and I'm sure we'll hit on in the podcast, that is so one of the more important things and one of the more meaningful things to us as fans about that game is like you said, and like Scott Van Pelt said, Vanderbilt has been the punchline all my life. All my life. And it's not a big deal. Like, it's never hurt my self-esteem. But like growing up, I'm sure you had the same experience. Like, you get made fun of for being a Vanderbilt fan. Whenever you
get asked why.
You get asked why. I went to the Mizzou, whenever I was at the Mizzou game, I had Mizzou fans asking me, why are you a Vanderbilt fan? Your whole life, your favorite football team or your favorite athletic program is the punchline. And it's sort of that what we felt against the Mizzou game is to where they held close, they almost got it done, but the whole mantra around it was, well, good job, Vandy. You did the best you could, and that's just been the story of Vanderbilt athletics for so long. Is good job, you put up a good fight, you did better than we thought you would be, and like he said, after Saturday, Vanderbilt is not the punchline. Vanderbilt is not the punchline anymore. Vanderbilt is not the joke anymore. Vanderbilt is not going to get told, oh, well, you did a good job. You tried your best. They're going to say, no, you came out there and you went wire to wire against the number one team in the nation, and you dominated them from start to finish. You never let up the lead.
Led the entire game.
Yep.
Let me repeat that. Because, of course, Vanderbilt won, and that's the overall. But what is being undercovered and underreported, Vanderbilt led the entire game. From the opening kick and that first drive, they went straight down the field. Vanderbilt led the entire game. 60 minutes, Vanderbilt won that football game. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that. I want to get this out here beforehand at the beginning. Clark Lee last week, I partially rescinded, and I partially apologized for my tweet about you not being an SEC head coach. I tweeted out something after the Georgia State loss. I'm not going to say it was justified, but I think it was. I tweeted out a take that was Clark Lee's not an SEC head coach. He's a nice guy, but he's just not. It's time to move on. Clark, I will put on my dunce cap happily. Please tell me I was a hater. I was wrong. I was so wrong, and I'm coming to you on my hands and knees. I am back on the Clark Lee train. I talked about this to Trevor before, but I think what's being lost is how on the train I was going into last season.
Yeah.
And that is why I was so opposed to buying into a hype train of any kind going into this year, even after the Virginia Tech win. Of course, I was excited, but I got burnt last year.
Yeah.
I was thoroughly confident this team was going to go from 2-10 to 5-7 to a bowl game.
Yeah.
I felt it in my soul, and I was wrong. And they took a huge step back. And this year, I was very hesitant to buy in. Buddy, if I'm bought in, obviously I'm bought in now. Everyone should be bought in. Bandwagon is wide open.
Yeah.
Anybody out there listening that doesn't have a team, doesn't have a fan base, lives in Nashville, wants to start tailgating and going to SEC football games, I promise you.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt fans are okay with you hopping on the bandwagon. Come one, come all.
We're the most diehard Vanderbilt fans on the face of the planet, and our listeners are the most diehard Vanderbilt fans on the face of the planet. And we are telling you from the bottom of our heart, we will open up our arms wide and we will accept every single one of you. I don't care if you don't know what a first down is. If you want to hop on the bandwagon, I will teach you what a first down is. We will teach you what a 3-tech is and what a fence post defense is. That's okay. Just put on some black and gold and come to the bank. We'll accept you. We'll feed you. We'll give you drinks. Come one, come all.
Come to lot 2. Come tailgate. It's a hell of a time.
Yeah.
The next home game is Ball State.
Ball Sack State.
We are going to have a hell of a time at that game.
That's going to be a fun one.
So I guess we got to jump into this game. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do it.
Twist my arm some.
I'm going to keep repeating the score. Vanderbilt beat Alabama 40-35.
In football.
Game
of American football.
What was it? The first victory for Vanderbilt over Alabama since
1984.
1984. So I'm going to start out with team stats before we get into the game recap and everything, because the team stats are shocking. Shocking is the best way. You heard in that Scott Venn Pelt clip, Vanderbilt dominated time of possession. Underline dominated. Clark Lee in his press conference all week. Usually I think those media availability from the coaches are just a load of shit. You don't gain much. Clark Lee this year, it feels like he's shooting straight from the hip.
Yeah, he seems like he's being honest, very honest.
Going into the Georgia State game, he said they did not have a good week of practice. They looked awful. You saw what happened. They came out and lost to Georgia State. He said they had a good week of practice, headed into Missouri on the road, played them to double overtime, lost by 3. He said they had their best week of practice headed into this Bama game, came out and won it. He also said their goal was to limit the game to 10 possessions or less.
Yeah.
And they did that.
Yeah.
They said, openly stated, they wanted to dominate time of possession and slow this game down, and it is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tim Beck. Tim Beck, that offensive game plan was the best offensive game plan I've seen from a Vanderbilt OC ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Mhm.
Tim Beck coached circles, and Clark Lee as well, but Tim Beck coached circles around that Alabama coaching staff and Kalen DeBoer.
He absolutely did. Shout out to Tim Beck. And we're going to get into it again as we dive deeper into this game. But, man, you have to give a shout out to Coach Klanakis, and you have to give a shout out to the offensive line, from the left guard or from the left tackle to the right tackle, everybody in between. They played. Not only did Tim Beck call the greatest offensive game plan I've ever seen from a Vanderbilt fan, and maybe I'm missing a lot of games and I'm just romanticizing this Alabama game.
No,
but the offensive line for Vanderbilt, that might have been the greatest offensive line performance I've ever seen from a Vanderbilt team in my entire life. Did not allow a single sack, not one sack against a talented Alabama defensive front. Kudos to them.
Incredible job from the O-line. I'm not taking away from what you just said. I want to shout them out as well. And Castillo stepping in at the center position, moving Lasoya to guard, that made all the difference in the world.
And we got to give some shout out to Xavier Castillo. He has taken a lot of heat from Vanderbilt fans on the internet and on podcasts, myself included. I will step forward. I have been very critical of Xavier Castillo. Beside Gunnar, I would say Gunnar Hansen had the best game on the offensive line, but at the end of the day, it's about the unit as a whole. Xavier Castillo at center dominated. He looked like a different player. He made no mistakes. He played the cleanest game I've ever seen, and he dominated that interior defensive line. We have really hated a lot on Xavier Castillo. It's time for us to give him his flowers. He was nothing short of sensational in that game.
So getting into the stats, Vanderbilt outgained Alabama, 418 total yards for the Commodores, 394 for Alabama. The part I wanted to add on that, I'm glad we gave our flowers to the line because they fully deserve it. I will add the small caveat. I went back and rewatched the game a couple times. There were multiple times, probably 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 times where there were completely free rushers from Alabama. And Diego Pavia was able to circle out of that pocket. That was like the O-line was incredible. They did a great job opening up fits for the run game and that scheme from Tim Beck. But the difference in why there were 0 sacks was Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
Basically, every quarterback Vanderbilt has had for the last 40 years would have been sacked 6 to 7 times in that game. And Diego Pavia's ability to create off-tempo plays, off-script plays, that's something Vanderbilt has not had and has needed. And he's also a big reason why there were no sacks.
Yeah.
There were multiple times he made it look very simple.
Yeah.
He made it look very easy on a free rushing 5-star Bama edge rusher and just spinning out in the pocket and throwing it downfield to Stowers.
Yeah, making that kid look silly.
He made it look really easy. But Vanderbilt, like I said, won in total yardage, won the turnover battle. Again, Bama with 2 turnovers. Vanderbilt was 0. Vanderbilt was 12 of 18 on third downs, 1 of 1 on fourth downs, and we will hit on that. 1 of 1 in the game recap. Passing yards. Alabama did throw the ball pretty well statistically. 310 yards passing, 18 of 24. Vanderbilt, 252 total yards passing, 16 of 21 as a team. Diego Pavia was 16 of 20. That one was Nate Johnson throwing it out of bounds. No interceptions thrown. Vanderbilt outrushed Alabama. Alabama ran the ball 21 times for 84 yards. Vanderbilt ran the ball 54 times for 166 yards. 54 times Vanderbilt ran the football against Alabama and was able to control the clock. I do want to hit on penalties as well. Alabama was penalized 6 times for 57 yards. Vanderbilt only penalized 3 times for 20 yards. Getting to the individual guys here, because I do want to give shout outs to every single player. Let me get it pulled up. On the box score here, like I said, Diego Pavia, 16 of 20 for 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, a QBR of 95.9. I believe the SEC Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah.
Could be wrong there, but I believe so.
Davey O'Brien Player of the Week as well.
Cedric Alexander, 21 carries, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. Diego Pavia, 20 carries for 56 yards. AJ Newberry, 7 carries for 34 yards with a 4.9 yards per carry average. Once again, Eli Stowers led the team in receiving, six catches, 113 yards. Junior Sherrill, 2 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Quincy Skinner Jr., 3 big catches. Huge catches for 38 yards. Cedric Alexander, 2 for 24. AJ Newberry, 1 for 14. Cole Spence, 1 for 12. And Cam Johnson, 1 for 6 and a touchdown. Fumble recoveries. Wataha recovered the Miles Caper forced fumble. Huge moment. Brian Longwell led the team in tackles with 8 total tackles, 5 solos. Langston Patterson coming in at second with 7 total tackles, 2 solos. Each Brian Longwell and Langston Patterson with half a sack. Nick Rinaldi had 1 sack.
Big sack.
Big sack.
Dude, shout out Nick Rinaldi once again. I hate to cut you off. Blitzes Jalen Milroe, misses the sack on the ground, on his stomach, manages to get up and still pursue Jalen Milroe for the sack. Huge sack. Shout out Nick Rinaldi. Kid's got a motor on him.
Nick Rinaldi with the sack. Miles Capers, of course, had the big sack and forced fumble. And then, I think that's it, because Aeneas DeCosmo just had a tackle for loss.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to the game recap, I don't think, we'll go ahead and do a full drive-by-drive and then give our kind of takeaways and thoughts. Vanderbilt, first drive of the game, gets the kickoff, 10 plays. Phoebe, you're going to have to move.
Yeah, she's
Phoebe,
hogging your...
You got to move.
Come
buddy.
on, baby girl.
Come on. First drive, Vanderbilt comes out, 10 plays, 75 yards, 8 minutes off the clock, touchdown. Vanderbilt goes up 7-0.
Money. Beautiful drive.
Vanderbilt forces Alabama on their first drive into a 3rd and 6. Jalen Miller throws a pass to the outside. It's tipped up into the air. Who made that play?
Big D Rock Wright, my boy. My boy. That's my guy. All the haters and losers that want to hate on DeRicky Wright, suck it.
Hey, I'll give you your flowers on that one. You've been a D-Rock supporter from day one. Brandon Fontenette comes in off the tip, scoops it up. Maybe has one of the funkiest looking returns I've ever seen.
He ran the ball. He ran with the ball like he was LaShawn McCoy, the way he was loafing it.
But also for no reason ran out of bounds and reached the ball around the pylon when he could have effortlessly just ran in, but scored regardless. That play at the beginning symbolized to me, at the moment I was of course cheering, but I was still thinking, we've seen this before. We've seen Vanderbilt jump out to a lead before. But that also symbolized to me at the time is how many times in the past have we seen that exact play and there's either nobody there to make the catch or Fontenette or whoever it is runs in and just drops it. And you're like, well, they still got the stop. It's still 4th down. They're still having to punt to us. You're sitting there, man, that was a big opportunity, but at least they got the stop.
You saw it a lot to start the season.
That was the difference
with those
here,
like 3 or 4 drop picks.
Is Vanderbilt didn't drop the interception. They made the play, scored the touchdown, capitalized. That's a theme throughout this entire game. I'm going to really hope this table.
I think this table's about to collapse on us.
This table's getting close to coming down. It had some damage happen during the tailgate. People getting a little too rowdy.
If guys want to crowdfund us a new table, just kidding. We can afford a new table. Vandy 62, we're actually not that poor.
Not that poor, just a little poor.
Just a little poor. We can afford a fold-out table.
But after that, Vanderbilt's up 13-0 after Brock Taylor doinks the extra point. Jesus Christ, Brock, we love you. What the hell?
He redeemed himself. He redeemed himself.
He redeemed himself. He did. But also, kind of, it's like, why? Why? It seems to be the short yardage. He's overthinking it, over-aiming at something. Because he's money from 50+.
Yeah, maybe we should have a if I'm Clark Lee and every time we
there goes the table. All right.
Pause.
I'm getting up.
I'll hold it from this side.
All right. We're going to see if that holds. 1 second.
The table. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Maybe the offense, every time they get a touchdown, should just have an excessive celebration and get a 15-yard penalty, back them up a little bit.
So that was a little premonition, I guess, I had there. That's chaos. We're not.
That's what you get for hating on my boy
Do
Brock.
we have to adjust that at all, or is it still good? I think it should.
You go on your thing. Bit. I think let's do this.
Yeah, that was chaos, but we are not editing it out. That is the TDR experience above all else. On the third possession of the game, Alabama's second, they go down, score a 7-play, 75-yard touchdown drive in 3 minutes, 40 seconds. And I think all across the stadium, everybody went, okay. Vanderbilt's obviously not going to get blown out and embarrassed. They came out, got up 13-0. But this is the Alabama offense. This is what they're going to do to us all day. What are you kicking down there?
I think we dropped our Conquer and Prevail ale. Whenever the table went down, I was like, what am I kicking?
I forgot what I was even saying. This has thrown me off completely. But the big part that I want to keep emphasizing as we go through this, you're going to have to pick that up.
Yeah.
As we go,
where is that?
As we go through the recap is why I didn't hit on the defense too much. The defense actually did not play well. I will stand on that statement 10 times out of 10. The offense won Vanderbilt that game. 35. If you would have told me before the game that Alabama scored 35 points, that wouldn't have shocked me in any way at all. I would have said, oh, Bama scored 35, 35-13, 35-14, somewhere like that.
But they nutted up when they needed to.
They got the stops when they needed to.
And that's what matters.
But really, they didn't. Like, no, they got turnovers when they needed them.
Yeah.
But really, they didn't get a lot of stops.
But those turnovers and those stops.
I'm not meaning to shit on the defense, Trevor.
I know you're not, but I'm saying that matters.
No, but this is undeniable. Vanderbilt's defense didn't contain Alabama's offense. They had a ton of explosive plays that in the past would have buried Vanderbilt. We've seen this exact defensive performance from Vanderbilt against highly ranked teams before, and Vanderbilt's lost by 20 plus.
Yeah, no.
That the difference was the offense.
No, yeah, I'm not disputing that.
That's the part that I know. The defense did enough, but the defense isn't what won them the game. But the defense did enough. So there's a lot of drives on here that are Alabama touchdown on this sheet. It's just how long Vanderbilt possessed the ball on offense, keeping the defense off the field. Is what won them the game. Vanderbilt, after Alabama goes down and scores quickly in 3 minutes, 40 seconds, has another long touchdown drive. Vanderbilt goes 17 plays, 75 yards, 9 minutes, 50 seconds, touchdown. Vanderbilt takes the lead 20-7. That was the drive with the penalties for Alabama. That was the drive where Vanderbilt actually punted the ball back to Alabama, and Alabama had the same mistake that Virginia Tech made, having two number twos on the field at the same time. And, of course, Vanderbilt gets the ball back. And they once again, the story of the game, capitalized on Alabama's small mistakes. Alabama didn't make a ton of mistakes, but they made enough, and Vanderbilt capitalized on them. Alabama had a roughing the passer penalty on that same drive that extended it. Yeah. It was a little bit questionable, we could say.
The hand tap?
The hand tap. I mean, it was a penalty.
By the letter of the law, that's a flag.
It is a penalty. So Vanderbilt's up 20-7. Then the defense gets a stop. Shout out to the defense. 3 and out for the Alabama offense. Vanderbilt gets the ball back. Field goal. Vanderbilt goes up 23-7. Gives the ball back to Alabama with about 4 minutes left in the second quarter. Alabama goes down very quickly. 9 plays, 83 yards, 2 minutes, 40 seconds, scores another touchdown, 23-14. Vanderbilt gets the ball back, punts back to, actually puts together a decent little drive at the end of the half, but ends up having to punt back to Alabama. Alabama kneels out the half. It's 23-14 going into halftime. Alabama's getting the ball back to start the second half. We're sitting in the stands. How are you feeling at halftime? You're up 23-14. You scored most of your points right at the beginning in that chaotic sequence at the beginning of the game. Alabama's getting the ball first out of the second half. In the past, even this year, Vanderbilt has struggled coming out of halftime.
Yes.
So how were you feeling at half?
So I felt good because I thought if Vanderbilt could keep playing the football game that they were playing, they could win the game. Now, with that being said, I knew Alabama getting the ball coming back. I thought I pretty much figured it was a given that they were going to score. So whenever they scored in that first drive, it wasn't a shock to me whatsoever. But I just thought to myself, okay, offense, like you're going to have to keep playing keep away, and if they can do that, they can win. So I was very hopeful at halftime.
I will say this. I meant to say it at the beginning. I had zero belief that it was actually going to happen until the final kneel down.
Yeah.
And I didn't allow myself to have belief until that final kneel down. At halftime, I'm going to level with everybody. At halftime, I saw almost no way Vanderbilt was going to win this game. I fully expected Alabama to come out, score effortlessly in their first drive. Vanderbilt punts back to Alabama. Alabama scores effortlessly again. And all of a sudden, you're playing from behind for the first time. Reality sets in, similar to how Alabama beat USF. But Vanderbilt played them a little closer. The final score might not indicate it, but it was a close ball game. That's kind of how I saw it going. I did not allow myself to have the belief, and maybe that's why they won.
Yeah.
But
you did look down at me. I asked you, I was like, dude, how are we feeling? And you just shook your head and you said they're not going to win.
They're
I'm
not
like,
gonna
come on,
win.
we'll believe. You're like, I'm telling you, they're not going to win.
I could not. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. But Alabama did exactly what we thought coming out at the start of the second half. Drive down 5 plays, 53 yards, 2 minutes, 51 seconds. I think this is the camera's a little off center, by the way. 2 minutes, 51 seconds. Alabama scores 23-21. Of course, the opening kickoff of the second half. Vanderbilt kicks it, not deep enough. Big kickoff return, of course. I don't know what's going on. Why can Vanderbilt, unlike every single other team in the country, not the SEC, in the country, every single team Vanderbilt has played, even Alcorn State, has a kicker that kicks it through the end zone literally 100% of the time, unless they are intentionally squibbing it. Why can Vanderbilt and Will Ferris and Brock Taylor not do that? Are they being coached to kick it into that corner? Why can they not just kick it through the end zone? Because whatever it is, if it's a coaching decision, stop. Just kick it through the end zone. That 2 or 3 yards of field position, 7 yards you gain on good kick coverage is not worth the 1 out of 5 times they're going to break it to the 40 or 50. It's not. Give them the ball at the 25 and let your defense do your job. Brock Taylor has a cannon of a leg. There's no way he cannot kick it out the back of the end zone.
That makes me think they're asking him to.
Yeah, they stop doing that. That is the dumbest thing on the planet. Kick it out the back of the end zone. If you are kicking it off, mostly only bad things can happen on the kickoff. Your best case scenario is they get it at the 18 versus the 25. I don't understand that. So I just had to bring that up because that's what set up Alabama for that touchdown drive, was another kick, not going into the end zone for a touchback. Vanderbilt gets the ball back, puts together 9 plays, but for only 25 yards. Vanderbilt punts back to Alabama. Basically exactly my nightmare scenario of what I saw playing out. I just assumed Alabama was going to go down the field again effortlessly and score. That's not what happened. The defense came out and did their job, partially due to an illegal forward pass that was complete way down the field for Alabama. Milroe was clearly past the line of scrimmage.
By like a couple yards.
But that penalty did save them on that drive. But Alabama goes 3 and out, punts the ball back to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt gets good field position. Also, I forgot on that punt, beautiful punt from Mirko. Pinned Alabama inside the 5, setting up Vanderbilt for good field position. Vanderbilt drives down the field very quickly. And you know why it was very quickly? Because this was the 4th and 1 play. Vanderbilt comes out, runs the ball for 3 yards, runs the ball for 1 yard, then a 5-yard completion to Quincy Skinner Jr., setting up 4th and 1 on the Alabama 36. What does Tim Beck do? What does Clark Lee do? We're going to run it, obviously, right?
That's what I thought.
Vanderbilt's been able to run the ball about as consistently as you're going to run the ball against Alabama. And instead, Vanderbilt comes out, play action pass. Pavia looks short to the left. His first option is not there. He sees Sherrill streaking down the field, lets it rip.
Yeah.
And this is right after the previous possession that Junior Sherrill dropped a pass laid beautifully over his shoulder that should have been a 45-plus yard completion. Pavia lets it rip. Touchdown Commodores. This was the first time, like I said, I didn't believe they could do it until the clocks hit 0, until those numbers said triple zeros. But this was the first moment where you had that was a play that you said, oh my God, this is the play you need to beat number 1. This is the highlight play. 4th and 1 rollout, 36-yard touchdown bomb. That stadium was going crazy. That's the type of play you need to beat number 1. And the balls on Tim Beck. The balls to throw that football and the balls on Diego Pavia. I mean, that was something I will never forget watching that play unfold live in person, ever.
That'll go down as one of the greatest plays in Vanderbilt football history, is that 4th and 1 to a streaking Junior Sherrill and Malachi Moore. I thought he was going to overthrow him. And so shout out to Junior Sherrill for making a an insane catch in a big time moment, able to secure the ball. Kudos to that guy. After I couldn't imagine being a wide receiver and dropping a ball like that on the possession before, dude. I would be so in my head.
Vanderbilt then gives the ball back to Alabama up 30-21. We're currently at 2 minutes, 53 seconds in the third quarter. Alabama gets the ball back. First down, big pass completion for 14 yards. Complete a couple other passes, and then it's 3rd and 7. 3rd and 7, Vanderbilt calls a timeout. I'm only specifically going into this because I thought they were going to a TV timeout. So I ran down quickly as this was my opportunity to pee for the first time during the game. What are you looking at?
I'm just looking at the box score.
I went to the bathroom, went down there, was like, they're going to go to a TV timeout. I've got time. There's one right next to Section F. Heard the crowd semi-explode, semi-get silent, and went, I have no idea if this was good or bad. I come back, and Alabama has completed a 58-yard touchdown pass from Jalen Milroe to Ryan Williams on an insane highlight play. Alabama goes down 4 plays, 75 yards in a minute 52, and brings the game to a 30-28 score with a minute left in the third quarter. Every single person was having the same thought. Literally the one thing you cannot give up right now after that big play is a big play touchdown to Alabama. What does Vanderbilt do? Gives up a big play touchdown to Alabama.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, once again, it was the same old feeling of, damn, this is going to be another gut-wrenching, heartbreaking loss. That's all I could think in my head. Vanderbilt gets the ball back, puts together a solid drive, takes up a lot of time, 9 plays. What is that? 60 yards, 5 minutes, 28 seconds, gets a field goal, 33-yard field goal from Brock Taylor, nails it. Vanderbilt goes up 33-28. And then this is the drive. This is the defensive drive where, like I already gave my criticism saying they did give up 35 points. This is where the defense, I said the offense won the game. This is where you can say the defense won the game. You're up 5. Alabama, for the first time in a long time, outside of that one drive in the third quarter, has an opportunity to take the lead and feel like reset the game and fully take back control. The momentum is already slightly on their side. They are driving down the field. They start out that drive with a big 20-yard completion from Jalen Milroe, another 16-yard completion. Alabama's at Vanderbilt's 39. You're thinking, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
You've got to be kidding me. Once again, are we going to have this happen? Miles Capers beats his man, comes unblocked off the edge, has the wherewithal to not just go for the sack and big hit, but specifically strips the ball out of Milroe's hands. Wataha lands on it. Vanderbilt has the ball basically at midfield. And at that moment, you kind of felt it. You felt it again. You were like, they needed that. That was the final piece that they needed. And once again, it's the same storyline of this whole game. It is not the same old Vandy. They got that fumble, and they fucking capitalized on it. They didn't just get the fumble, run out another couple minutes, and punt the ball back, and you say, man, what an opportunity missed. They took that fumble, 7 plays, 53 yards, 4 minutes, 29 seconds, touchdown Vanderbilt on maybe one of the cleanest play designs in the red zone I've ever seen. I can say that about a lot of plays Tim Beck designed, but a tight end we talked about in the preseason quite a bit that has been not utilized, just unutilized in this offense, a playmaker, and Cam Johnson, you actually saw more of last season than you've seen this year with the additions of Eli Stowers and Cole Spence coming back from the injury. Cam Johnson leaks out and is wide open for a basically walk-in touchdown. Vanderbilt goes up 40-28 with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The juices were flowing.
Whenever we got that strip sack, that's whenever I was like, okay, we're winning this ball game. It wasn't even on the touchdown. Whenever they got the strip sack, I thought to myself, we're winning this ball game.
When we scored, the tears started welling up in my eyes as I realized this was really a possibility. This wasn't just a pipe dream anymore. But of course, to bring me back down to reality, even with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Alabama goes down in 8 plays, 75 yards in 2 minutes and scores a touchdown.
That was a really pretty play too.
It was just, once again, that's why I'm not shitting on the defense, but they did not win this game.
No,
the defense was presented with a lot of opportunities to get a stop to seal the game, and they failed multiple times. They never, but the offense got the ball and held on to it and won the game. They did the job. That's what I'm hitting on.
Yeah.
The defense did enough with turnovers, but the defense didn't play well. They gave up a lot of big plays and a lot of touchdowns in moments when you said, you can't give that up. You can't give up a 2-minute touchdown drive with 5 minutes left up 12. You can't do that. But fortunately, Vanderbilt got the ball back and never gave it back. Vanderbilt picked up 3 first downs, 7 plays, 54 yards, 2 minutes, 44 seconds. Vanderbilt milked out the clock, ended up in victory formation. Number 13, Malachi Moore with a full toddler temper tantrum. We're not going to hit on that too much because I did see an interview where he said he personally reached out to Diego Pavia and they were good, whatever that means. But a real punk-ass play at the end to slam Diego Pavia's head into the turf after he picked up that final first down.
Yep.
Could you imagine? And I will say, normally I am on the side of players like laying dudes out when that happens and like starting a big brawl if you do that to a quarterback. I do want to say in that specific situation,
I agree.
Shout out to the O-line and the entire team for just being like, that was filthy, that was dirty. Normally I would fuck you up. We're pulling back and we are taking this win because we're fucking you up way more with this win than anything we're going to do victory-wise.
That's a really good point,
physically
actually. That's
wise.
a really good point.
So shout out to the team for staying disciplined because Malachi Moore was doing everything in his possible power to get the offense to react, and it just wasn't going to happen. So Vanderbilt wins 40-35. Long recap of the game. I do want to talk about now, and we'll get to our 3 key takeaways. I want to talk about that celebration.
Greatest moment of my life.
As a Vanderbilt fan, I've had this thought as an adult. You kind of just fully accept it that you're never going to be a part of something like that. That you see these scenes across the country. You've seen it not that far, 3.5 hours down the road when Tennessee beat Alabama, where the whole stadium rushes the field, the goalposts get torn down, thrown into the river. It's a national scene, top storyline across ESPN, SEC Network, Big Ten Network. Everybody's talking about it. And you don't just win, you celebrate in that fashion like an SEC team. I had just fully accepted I would never be a part of that scene.
Yeah.
Because I was always going to go to Vanderbilt games. I was always going to watch. So I was never going to be a fan of another team. So I'm just never going to be a part of it and just have to accept it. We got to be a part of the scene of the year in college football. There will be nothing that tops Vanderbilt ripping their goalposts down, breaking the metal on the goalposts, taking it 2.5 miles through the city of Nashville, taking back the city and Broadway from bachelorette parties and fuckers coming from the West Coast and Northeast and Ohio. Nashville sucks now. Nashville used to be awesome. You go out now, it sucks. It is terrible. You saw Vanderbilt reclaim the city for one night.
Yeah.
You saw the old Nashville, the magical Nashville, the non-corporatized fake country singer Nashville. You saw the real Nashville for one night. And I just want to, there is not a fan base, there is not a program, there is not a team that deserves this more than Vanderbilt fans, Vanderbilt admin, Vanderbilt staff, Vanderbilt players. Legitimately, everyone deserves this. Soak it in all week. The players, and Clark Lee had the quote, they've tossed and burned the Alabama game. What was the exact quote? Because it was pretty great.
We've relinquished it to our past.
Relinquished it to our past. As players, awesome. You guys do that.
Yes.
That's awesome. Move forward within the program internally. You have to do that. As fans,
I will not.
We do not have to do that. As fans, soak this in, Vanderbilt fans. You truly deserve this. I was sitting there I think the entire night, I was just in shock. My body, physically, mentally, emotionally, I had no idea how to process what I was seeing because I truly had given up I would ever see anything like that. I would ever be a part of something like that. I looked over at my dad, who has been going to games his entire life, 53 years old. He, in his wildest imagination, never thought in his entire life he would see that. My grandfather lived his whole life watching Vanderbilt games. He passed away, never saw that. It was truly something magical and something I will be talking about for literally the entirety of the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I will never, those memories will not fade. We won't get into I have some brain issues that don't allow me to process memories correctly. Those memories are ingrained.
Yeah.
I will never, ever forget that. Vanderbilt fans that were there, shout out to you guys. I hope every single person that sold your ticket or gave it away, I hope you are sick to your stomach. I hope you look in the mirror and you hate yourself and you never, ever give away or sell your tickets again. Show up to the games, support these guys. This is why we go. I have not always been the most positive Vanderbilt fan. Trevor's been a lot more positive than me. I have sat through games my entire life, tailgating, waiting all week for the game, knowing Vanderbilt was going to get their ass kicked by an opponent, walking into the stadium, watching them get their ass kicked by said opponent, and walking out disappointed. I have done that my entire life. I was there in 2017 when Vanderbilt lost 59-0 to Alabama. I was there at the Temple game in 2014. I was there at the ETSU game in 2021. I have seen it all. You have seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone listening to this has seen it all. And Vanderbilt fans, take your victory lap. Soak it all in. You deserve this.
Yeah. I mean, this is truly a moment in history for Vanderbilt fans. You want to talk about, like you said, a fan base that has been long suffering, like a fan base that has been put through the ringer. That's why I hate it when other fan bases are like, "Oh, we deserve this." I'm like, one day you will ache like I have ached over sports. One day you will hurt like I have hurt over college athletics. And I have hurt a lot, and I have never, ever, ever once got to celebrate like that in my life. And I'm just like you. It is one of the things I have always wanted to do, was to storm the field, not in an orderly manner, but to absolutely bum rush it like World War Z and tear down that goalpost and carry it all the way to the river and watch them pull it out of the river and then just go to Broadway and have a darn good time.
People talked about that Vanderbilt rushed the field in Florida. I was at that game. I was at that win. I left the stadium without even knowing Vanderbilt rushed the field. That was not a field storming. This was a field storming. And I think the interview with Diego Pavia, if you have not seen that live after the game, still in pads with his family circling all around him as the field's being stormed, maybe the best post-game player interview I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Started out by saying he had a vision from God, thanked God, and then looked around and said, "Vandy, we're fucking turnt."
He's just like me, for real, for real.
I mean, Diego Pavia, you have captured the eyes of the entire nation. I've given myself enough flack. I've whipped myself enough about not believing in Clark Lee. I will say, from day one when Diego Pavia committed, I've been on the Diego Pavia train.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment he committed, I watched his highlights. I quote tweeted, still his pinned tweet on his Twitter, is his highlights for New Mexico State with "No Worries" by Lil Wayne, the explicit version, over top of those highlights. The signs were all around us. Diego Pavia is a true motherfucking dog. And there is no doubt about it. I do want to also give a full shout out from that celebration. I want to give a shout out to the Vanderbilt administration, to the security inside of First Bank Stadium, to the students for showing out, but mostly to the security and the admin for allowing that scene to unfold. Security could have very easily made that difficult, made Vanderbilt unable to bring the goalposts out of that stadium. And also, I heard they were being a little bit threatening to arrest some people, but Metro PD was also a little part of that, helping Vanderbilt get down Broadway. Shout out to them, even though they're a little bitchy about some things. But shout out to them for allowing that scene to unfold down Broadway. Truly a religious experience is what I would call it.
Yeah.
I overheated in the mass of humanity and was vomiting into the drain on Vanderbilt Field, so I apologize to whoever has to go and clean that drain. I could not help it. Some Vandy fans or some Vandy students came by and said, "Get it all out, brother." And I looked at him and I wanted to give a thumbs up, and I just looked at him with like, My eyes bloodshot.
You're like, dude,
snot dripping out of my nose.
I might die on Dudley Field right
I might
now.
die a happy man.
Yeah.
Right now. It's
They
truly
just
what I
see
thought.
you off in a corner, and I'm just telling the security guard, the paramedic, I'm like, don't, just let my boy rest. Let my boy be at peace.
The celebration was incredible. I don't just want to keep repeating myself. So let's get into the key takeaways of the game here. We always do 3 key takeaways. Mine are not very specific or very well thought out, but Trevor, we'll start with you if you have yours pulled up. What's your key takeaway number 1 from the greatest victory in the history of Vanderbilt athletics? Maybe we should talk about this too. I saw some people legitimately questioning if this was the greatest victory in the history of Vanderbilt athletics. And I put it out, and some people even commented about the baseball national championships in 2014 and 2019. Trevor's a bigger baseball guy than me. I will give it that. I love Vanderbilt baseball. It's definitely 3 out of 3, not even close on my care meter. Guys, if you really think a baseball national championship is anything remotely close to this, you're out of your fucking mind. This is on a national scale. It's not even close. Literally after Vanderbilt won those championships, the responses from fan bases were nobody cares about baseball. Now that's not true.
Yeah.
But that is a very valid criticism, is kind of compared to football, nobody does care about baseball. I don't think people understand the scale of eyes. The scale of eyes on a regular season SEC football game versus the baseball national championship. There are more eyes watching the average SEC network game of the week for SEC football than there are on the national championship of baseball. It is not comparable, much less Vanderbilt beating the number 1 team in the country. This was not the greatest win in the history of Vanderbilt football. This was incomparable, the greatest win in the history of Vanderbilt athletics. And you can argue with a wall if you disagree with that.
Yeah.
You're a baseball guy, so if you want to disagree with me.
I'm a baseball guy. I ride or die for the Vandy boys. I mean, I said it on our Twitter spaces. This is the greatest win in Vanderbilt athletics history, not just in my personal opinion. I think if you could somehow break it down into like a metric, I think even metrics would show somehow, I don't know how you would do that this would be the most influential, the most impactful, the greatest win in Vanderbilt athletics history. And like you said, I love baseball. Like I don't just love college baseball. I love Major League Baseball. Like I'm a baseball guy, but at the end of the day, like college football is supreme. Not just college football, but football in general is supreme. This is the greatest win in Vanderbilt athletics history. Shout out Tim Corbin, but man, Tim Corbin, take a back seat. It's time to talk about Clark Lee.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and do my key takeaway number 1 because it's basically that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I saw it written down here, so I'll just do mine first to give you a sec. I've written down, I mean, this is program changing. This is so much more than 1 win. This is a win that in 40 years we are going to be talking about, even if this isn't a jumping off point, even if this is the top of the mountain possible and they end up just falling apart. This is still a win that we will be talking about in 40 or 50 years. Grant, hopefully I'm still alive.
Yeah.
That's the part, the impact this can have, not just because before you would have said, oh, this can have a big impact in high school recruiting. And you're like, yeah, it can have a big impact in high school recruiting. That could be some momentum. They had a lot of kids visiting. That's great. The real impact of this is the transfer portal and NIL. And there is, if you've played college football 25, there is a part when you're trying to get players to recruit or come into your school that is, what is it called?
Brand exposure.
Brand exposure. Right there in this game was Vanderbilt's brand exposure going from a D to an A- right in front of your eyes. And for a lot of players that have really thought that are in that portal looking and they're saying, Vanderbilt's gotten better, but can you really do it at Vanderbilt? Can you really be on that national stage? I know they're in the SEC, but can they really do it? They just did it.
Mm-hmm.
They just did it with relatively middle of the pack resources. So players in the portal will look at this and say, I can go play in the SEC, get on that stage, and if we win, I will have the eyes of the nation on me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that they just proved that could happen at Vanderbilt. We truly talked about it, that wasn't possible at Vanderbilt for the last few episodes, that was done.
Yeah.
That was over. Vanderbilt was never going to be able to do that and be the national recognition. They're always going to fight against that. They just did it.
Yeah.
And now that opens up so many more opportunities in the portal. It also proves that all these changes have worked.
Yeah.
It's been painful. It has not been a straight line this season. Hell, you lost to Georgia State 2 games ago.
Yeah.
But it proves Vanderbilt is definitively on the right track.
I totally agree.
Definitively, and in the future, this can be a jumping off point and change the program's trajectory.
And I think that's what's so special about it too, is, and Clark Lee hit on it in both of his pressers, like, this isn't a destination, this is an arrival, and it feels like that. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like, oh, this isn't the end of the road, but you think to yourself, oh, this might be the start of something for Vanderbilt. And that feels special for a fan base that has wanted that for so long. My key takeaway number one is from the game, but it's really more about the culture of Vanderbilt football in general. I think you are seeing a shift in the type of player and the type of attitude and the type of mentality that we have not seen in Vanderbilt football players ever. And a lot of Vanderbilt fans, myself included, are very proud to say you're a Vanderbilt fan, because you look at those student athletes and they go on to do great things. Like, they're legitimately great people. And I'm not saying that anybody on this team is a bad person, but you have never at Vanderbilt had that guy or multiple guys that have that real edge, that real FU mentality. And Vanderbilt's got a lot of those guys. You want to start at the quarterback position, Diego Pavia at the most important position in all of sports. She's going crazy. Phoebe's got Loki the dog in her right now. Diego Pavia at the most important position has that dog in him. Quincy Skinner Jr., I don't know if you saw, but I went back and I saw a TikTok to where on a block, on a run block, no, not even that, on a run block, he takes his man, holds him by the collar, and starts shaking him violently. And somebody's like, dude, you've never had this at Vanderbilt before. Phoebe, you need to chill out. She's being rude. Colby Taylor gets a lot of flack. Colby Taylor has got that dog in him and has done a great job as the defensive back at locking down his man. Only allowed Ryan Williams 1 catch and talked his shit afterwards. I get it that was hilarious. I get it that you don't want to put yourself in precarious situations and have dudes that are dogs that get dumb penalties. But I will say, I would rather tell my players, I would rather be like, hold back. I'd rather be pulling them back than tell them to sick them. And I'm glad that Vanderbilt finally has that type of mentality.
I love you brought that up because you put that in a perfect way. We have talked about, and I know I've used the phrase a lot, that FU mentality.
Yeah.
And that's what Vanderbilt has been lacking. That was actually the number one thing I talked about with Pavia.
Yeah.
Was when he signed, I was like, I watched his highlights and his tape, guys. He has that FU. He believes I don't know if he's correct about it, but he truly believes he's the best player in the country.
Yeah.
Like, he really believes that.
Yeah.
And right now he's talked about Johnny Manziel openly multiple times. At least he's not pretending like Raiola or whatever from Nebraska that he's not emulating.
No, he's like, no, he is my hero.
No, he's like, that's why I'm wearing number 2.
Yeah.
Like, what he did is what I want to do. And he's undersized like Manziel. And by God, talk your shit, Diego.
Dude, yes.
You talked it from the opening, and you just went out and beat number 1 Bama.
Yeah.
But the dog mentality thing, Vanderbilt has had individual guys in the past on teams. I think during the Derek Mason era on some of those teams. Joanne Williams, great example. Keyshawn Vaughn, another good example. But they didn't have enough of them. For every one of those guys, there were 10 guys on the roster that they were good guys. And they were talented players.
Soft.
But they were a little soft.
They were soft.
That's always been the criticism, is Vanderbilt plays them tough, but they don't have that. Okay, we're gonna talk as much as we want. So whatever. But there's
we ball, big dog.
There's truly this part of, I consider myself, and my dad will back this up if you have any questions. I'm not a talented athlete, but I'm truly about as horrifically as a character fault competitive as you can get. If I don't like losing in ping pong, I don't like losing in 2K. I remember in 6th grade playing my dad in 2K and losing and literally slamming the bathroom door, locking it, and like crying. I was so angry I just lost at a random 2K game against my dad. Of course, I got in a lot of trouble for that. But what I've always said is I hate losing 1,000 times more than I love winning. And I think anybody that's truly competitive, the celebration after winning is fantastic, amazing, exultative. You feel it, it's religious. But losing, it sits with you and eats at you. And I feel physically ill after losing anything, whether it's watching Vanderbilt or losing at a dumb video game. they have a lot of guys that I think are like that now.
Yes.
From Hubbard to Pavia to Quincy to Eli Stowers to Fontenette to Taylor to Colby Taylor.
Gunnar Hansen.
They have a lot of guys like
Mhm.
that now. And that is, I don't want to shit on the old teams, but they just never had that before. They
that's
just
right.
didn't, man.
Yeah.
They just didn't have it. You saw a couple guys in the Franklin era, a couple guys with Mason. I think they have like 50 guys on the roster with that mentality now, where it's like, I don't care what team we're playing for. We don't lose.
Yeah.
And of course you're still going to lose. They still lost to Georgia State. They still lost to Missouri, but I know it ate them up and they really cared about losing.
Mhm.
That's why it's hard to play the with the butterfly effect of, man, they should have beaten Georgia State. Then they beat 4-1, or man, they could really be 5-0 right now in a real top 5, top 10 team. It's hard to play that.
Yeah.
Because would they have had their backs against the wall the same way in this Bama game?
Yeah.
Would they have been as dialed in for this Alabama game if they were sitting at 3-1, coming off a double overtime loss to Missouri? This is basically a gravy game. You got Kentucky next week. Just need to stay healthy. Don't show too much. But they came into that game. They believed, CJ Taylor, you were redeemed.
Yeah.
Talk your shit. I defended you avidly.
Yeah.
In every group chat I was in, I think I also
We did it
tweeted
on the
about
pod, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what do you want him to say?
Yeah.
And
we're
it's like,
gonna lose?
we're going to lose. No, CJ came out there,
Yeah.
another dog mentality, and
Yeah.
said, I think people are going to be shocked at the outcome on Saturday. And by God, he was right.
Yeah. And dude, and I'll let you get to your second point, but this bothered me. I want to defend this kid. I've seen a lot of people hate on Colby Taylor for his attitude on the internet. I want to push back on that and say, screw that. Like I said on here, I would rather have to tell a guy I would rather have to pull him back than tell him to go get a guy. I would rather, and if he gets a flag, screw it. But I'm willing to live with that if that's his attitude.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement. Number 2 is going to be the most obvious key possible in the world. Speaking of dogs, Diego MFN Pavia. There is always a chance, and you're always kind of hoping and praying that every single year you're going to bring in a player that can change the face of your program, that can change the trajectory of your program, because he doesn't understand necessarily the history of losing at Vanderbilt, and he can come in and completely flip the script. Diego Pavia, it's not just in our heads. The country knows who Diego Pavia is. There was an on-3 graphic of Heisman frontrunners. Diego Pavia, maybe it was for clickbait, I don't care, was tied for 9th in that top 10. Diego Pavia is a national household name. He put on about as perfect of a performance as you can possibly have. On the biggest stage, I think the broadcast peaked at like 11.9 million viewers on SEC Network. Diego Pavia. Of course, he's the one being plastered across, getting all the interviews and everything, and you don't want resentment building in the team. So I want to give credit to everyone, but let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
The only reason Vanderbilt beat that Alabama team is because Diego Pavia was a quarterback.
Yeah.
You put even Kyle Shermer, who's a great Vanderbilt quarterback. You put him in that game, Vanderbilt loses by 21 plus.
I totally agree with you.
You put any other player outside of Diego Pavia that Vanderbilt has ever had at quarterback, and they lose that game by 20 plus. Diego Pavia. He's different.
Yeah.
That's not really anything spectacular or game-changing, but 16 of 20 for 252, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, also carrying the ball for 50-plus yards against Alabama.
Yeah.
Holy hell,
Putting his
Diego.
body on the line for the team.
Go, Diego, go.
Yeah. He's been everything we've thought he would be times a billion. He has turned around the narrative of Vanderbilt football in just a couple of weeks. He truly has. And even though he will be at Vanderbilt for one season, he will go down as one of the, if not the most beloved Commodores of all time. I truly believe that. My second point, I'm gonna go back to the team in my third key takeaway, but I kind of want to have a bigger view of this game, dude. We gotta shout out the students, and this is not just a Alabama takeaway. I think this is a Virginia Tech, Alcorn State, Alabama takeaway. like a lot of people on this team, Vandy students have been getting a lot of shit thrown at them for not showing up to the games for a long time. And I will say, rightfully so, because Vanderbilt students traditionally have not showed up to football. They have changed that this year, not just with this game, but with the 3 home games that we have been to. Vanderbilt students have showed up. They have been loud. They have been rowdy. They are changing the narrative of what it means to come to First Bank and have a raucous student section. Shout out to those kids, and shout out to them for storming the field, getting crazy, tearing down the goalpost. They deserve a lot of credit, because without a raucous student section, you could have a stadium full of just people like you and me, but if you don't have students that are going to get crazy, you don't have that sort of energy or that sort of aura that makes college football so special. Those student sections are partly what makes college football so special, and Vanderbilt's never had that. And this year they do. Shout out to those kids. Please, guys, I'm begging. We love you. Please keep coming to the games. You guys make a huge difference.
I think they'll be coming to the games now.
Yeah. Please keep coming.
Any Vanderbilt student that didn't go to that game is ill.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to speed this up a slight bit because I still have to edit this. We haven't even gotten to the Kentucky preview portion of this.
I got a midterm after this.
Yeah. So I'm already dead exhausted. Going to my third key takeaway. I already talked to, I did have written down the big dogs on both sides, but I've already talked about that multiple times. My key takeaway number 3 is before the season, I said Vanderbilt either has no legitimate playmakers or has a very limited number of legitimate playmakers, and maybe no real SEC level playmakers. And I love Quincy Skinner Jr., but no guys that would be the number 1 or number 2 guys on any other SEC roster. That was my take before the season. Maybe Mississippi State, because they freaking suck.
Mm-hmm.
But a guy that has been getting attention, but not enough, Eli Stowers, another transfer from New Mexico State, is a legitimate, real SEC level playmaker that would be the number 1 targeted tight end on almost any roster he was on in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Eli Stowers has not gotten enough credit for how incredible he has been. Truly something Vanderbilt has never seen at the tight end position. The closest thing you could even say is Jared Pinkney.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, no
He's
hate towards Pinkney. Stowers is a different level. The connection he has with Diego Pavia. It's more at one point, I think there was a game when Stowers had 9 catches. Everybody else had 1.
Yeah.
I was like, Pavia just has tunnel vision.
The Georgia State game.
Yeah. Pavia just has tunnel vision for Stowers. Now, no, I think Stowers is just that damn good at getting open, and Tim Beck is so damn good at scheming him open.
Mm-hmm.
Another game with 100+ receiving yards out of that tight end position, multiple times scheming him with that shovel pass and him breaking it for huge gains. So Eli Stowers is my key number 3. Before the season, if you would have told me Vanderbilt is going to have a pass catcher that is going to be clearly the number 1 pass catcher, number 1 receiver on this team, he's going to be the guy that teams have to scheme for, I never in my wildest imagination would have thought that was Eli Stowers.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. He is incredible. That is what an NFL tight end looks like in college. Stowers is going to play at the next level, and there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be a weapon the rest of this season. And you know what's going to happen? Defenses are going to have to pay a lot more attention to Eli Stowers. And you know what that opens up?
Everybody
literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
That opens up the run game. That opens up Cam Johnson. That opens up Cole Spence. That opens up Quincy. That opens up Junior. That opens up Seti on runs. That opens up Newberry out of the backfield. It opens up everything because teams have to account for a legitimate playmaker out of that tight end position that if you put a backer on him, he's going to beat that backer in single coverage.
He's going to beat a safety.
And if you do single coverage on him, he might beat you for a touchdown or a 40+ yard gain. And if you put a single coverage on him in 3rd and 7, he's going to get that first down.
Yeah.
The Alabama fan next to me was cracking me up. He was diagonally down.
I know exactly what you're
talking about. And it was
about.
really kind of annoying me.
It was pissing me and Jalen
because
off.
It was Alabama fans in general. I said we had to speed up, but Alabama fans in general are not bad. They're one of the best fan bases every time I've interacted with them, even when they beat us 59-0.
Super pleasant.
That are super pleasant. They're actually, to a fault, very quiet.
Yep.
Compared to every other SEC fan base and even Virginia Tech, they are very docile.
Yes.
As a fan base. I don't mean there are some good fans around me, but there was one diagonally down in Section F. And he kept saying, I'm assuming it was his wife, kept talking back and forth, and he kept saying, run, throw to 9. Run, throw to 9. And I'm like, yes, but they're not running the same play over and over.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that Vanderbilt's a read option team.
Yeah.
So saying run past 9 isn't the incredible schematic breakthrough you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt runs a lot of 3-back sets.
Yeah.
You think you can just say, guys, it's a run, and stop it?
You don't know what it is.
You don't know. It could be there are 4 guys, and then they run a lot of jet sweeps. There are 5 guys on every run play that can get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to stop, even if you know they're going to run, and that's kind of the whole point of this offense.
Yeah.
What he was describing is why this offense is hard to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it was very funny to me hearing Bama fans complain about, can we get a holding call?
Oh,
can
don't
we
get
get a
me
call? I'm like,
started.
and I had to quote tweet something during the game and say, yes, the classic SEC biased against Alabama in favor of Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Classic SEC bias. Everybody knows the SEC super biased against Bama.
Oh, yeah.
And they are always making calls for Vanderbilt. But yes, Stowers was incredible. Listening to Bama fans bitch and moan about not getting calls was incredible.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude,
yeah,
you guys are complaining about not getting.
We can talk about not getting calls.
Are complaining about not getting calls. But my key takeaway number 3 is Eli Stowers is a legit NFL prospect.
Yeah.
And he's another reason, not quite as big as Pavia, but almost as big as Pavia coming from New Mexico State as to why this upset happened.
Yeah. My key takeaway number 3 is something we've already hit on, but something that we're going to keep hitting on. Everybody needs to apologize to Clark Lee. Everybody needs to apologize to Clark Lee. Clark Lee, it's been ugly. I'm not saying that that's been any other way. It has been an ugly road for Vanderbilt. It has been an ugly road for Clark Lee in particular. And this season, he made the changes he needed to make. He looked in the mirror. He said, what are my deficiencies? What do I need to get better at? What do I need help at? And he addressed that. I might buy that. For those of you who just wondered what I just said, I might buy that too. Will just showed me that they are auctioning off a game-worn Brock Taylor signed jersey. How much is it going for?
$1,005.
I'll see if I can make that work. But it's time to give Clark Lee his props. He looked in the mirror. He said, what am I doing wrong? And he addressed those. And that's tough to do. That's tough for anybody to do. That's tough for a head football coach to do because you know those guys are prideful as hell. And he said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make Vanderbilt turn into a winning product. And he did that. And Vanderbilt right now is a winning product. So we need to give some kudos to Clark Lee.
Yeah, I've issued my apology. I will keep apologizing. Clark, I'm back on the train.
Yeah.
I'm back on the train. You had me on the train last year. Pause. You had me on the train last year. I fell off hard. It hurt. It did hurt. But I'm back. And it's also, you talked about apologize to Clark Lee. It's also another, he has turned it around. And the one thing I've never stopped saying is, I want this staff to succeed.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in them any longer, and that's on me. But I want this staff to succeed. I want Clark Lee to succeed. I want Barton Simmons to succeed. They care about this.
Yeah.
You could see it in Clark Lee's eyes after the game celebrating. You could hear it in his voice in the post-game presser. Clark Lee cares. That has never been a criticism of mine about Clark Lee. That was my main criticism about Jerry Stackhouse.
Yeah.
Is I don't think he cares that much. That is not why I had criticisms of Clark Lee. I think he cares, and I think he works his freaking butt off. And unfortunately, that doesn't always mean success, was my whole point. It's just because you want it real bad, and just because you're working real hard, that's not how it works. Sometimes that's the more talented coach, more talented team still wins.
Yeah.
Even if you are locked in and doing everything right. The guys doing it all wrong might just be better than you.
Yeah.
Thank God for once. It broke the way of the good guys.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to say. We are already pretty deep into this one, and we have not even gotten in.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, that's why I was saying we got to speed it up a little bit because Vanderbilt does have a pretty big matchup.
Big.
As far as this season is concerned coming up. So we're going to take a quick TDR cocktail break. Grab yourself a cold one or a warm one. It's getting a little fall nip in the air outside on October 8th. So maybe grab yourself a coffee because we have the Kentucky preview up next. We'll be right back after the TDR cocktail break. Welcome back from the TDR cocktail break. We were just looking at the new signed jerseys available for auction up on I don't even know what website that is. But whatever it is, the Diego Pavia jersey is currently the current bid is over $11,000. The Brock Taylor jersey is $1,005 currently. If any of you wealthy Vanderbilt fans want to make a donation to TDR, we would love nothing more than to have that Brock Taylor jersey. We will frame it and hang it directly behind us for every single episode. I don't think it's going to happen. That's a lot of money. But yeah, we would love that if any of you people with too much money that you don't know what to do with it are listening out
We're
there.
just getting ready for a tailgate. And you're like, what happened to the jersey? It's off the wall. And I just come down the stairs and I'm wearing it.
I think based on that picture I saw of you and Brock next to each other, I think that jersey might be a little tight on you.
It would be, dude, I'd be busting at the seams, baby.
So Trevor put out a picture of him hugging Brock Taylor and picking him up after the game, celebrating on the field. All I could think about was I was looking at your legs and I was looking at Brock Taylor's legs. And I was like, Trevor's legs are 5 times the size of Brock Taylor's legs.
I bet I could kick a football pretty far.
No.
You don't think so?
No. Kicker's stockiness has nothing to do with it. It's that lanky leg you need. That lanky
see, I don't
leg.
have lanky legs.
Yeah,
I've got stubby legs.
Yeah. See, I don't think that's ideal for a kicker situation. But then again, Nick Folk, incredibly accurate kicker, not the most athletic looking fella.
Oh.
And you got that power lifter build.
So Janikowski.
We got the Kentucky preview to get into. This is going to be, even though this is a big game, I'm not meaning for it to be brief. It is going to be brief just because of how much we've talked about Alabama. Yeah. My laptop's about to die.
I legitimately have to take a statistics midterm as soon as this is over.
Yep. Vanderbilt goes on the road to Lexington, Kentucky, and takes on the Wildcats. What are they? I got to pull up Kentucky. You talk for a second.
Yeah, so Kentucky, really good ball club, going up to Lexington this weekend, Saturday, 6:45 kickoff. I will be in attendance. Me, my father, and mother will be in the Vandy section. We're making the trip up to Lexington. I believe it's only a 3-hour drive or so. Already got some homies going up. I know Jalen's going up. If you were going up to Lexington, hit us up. We would love to meet you guys. We would love to see where y'all are sitting. Maybe grab a bite to eat after dinner, or after dinner. Grab a bite to eat after dinner. We can get a drink after dinner. We can get dinner after the game, though. You still looking up what you're trying to find?
I'm just trying. My laptop's almost dead in battery saver
The schedule.
mode,
I've got the schedule.
so I can't. Yeah, so I was trying to get back through so I didn't misquote any of Kentucky's losses. Also,
You want me to rip it?
I've got it.
Okay.
The ESPN app is getting worse. I swear it's getting worse. Kentucky started out the year with a 31-0 victory over Southern Miss, then got their brains beat in by South Carolina 31-6, then barely lost to Georgia on a very conservative decision from Mark Stoops 13-12, beat the crap out of Ohio 41-6, and then upset number 6 Ole Miss on the road 20-17, and then they've been on a bye week last week. I have no idea how to read this Kentucky team. I don't think many across the country know how to read this Kentucky team because that South Carolina game is the gigantic aberration in the schedule. Kind of similar. It was obviously an SEC game, but kind of similar to that Vanderbilt Georgia State game. It doesn't reconcile with the other performances you've seen. Mm-hmm. The one thing you do know about Kentucky, they have a good defense.
Really good.
That South Carolina game is not a good example, but this Kentucky defense probably better than the Alabama defense.
I've seen a lot of people
not
saying
as
that.
far as stars and recruits, but how they have performed. This Kentucky defense is probably the best defense Vanderbilt has played all season, in my opinion, after the brief research I've done. The current gambling line, I cannot wrap my head around this. I'm a big gambler. I don't get it, but Vegas always knows, so I must be missing something. I know Kentucky's coming off a bye week, but Vanderbilt opened as an 11.5-point underdog at Kentucky. That line that I assumed would come down has now ballooned out to Vanderbilt being a 14-point underdog.
Is it that big
It
now?
has,
Oh,
yes.
God.
A 14-point underdog last time I checked against Kentucky. I do not understand that line. If someone can explain it, and Aria quote tweeted actually my dad saying he doesn't understand that line and explained.
Actually,
it really did. I swear to God,
so condescending.
no, but she sounds like she's asking Google reading articles, and she sounds like she's spitting out a Chat GPT answer.
Mhm.
Like, Aria, we know all of this. We know how gambling works. We know they use computer models, you fucking moron. Like, that's not why we're saying this line makes no sense, because the line makes no sense.
Yeah.
Vegas is smart.
Yeah.
Vegas is trying to get 50% of the money on both sides. Vanderbilt has not lost a game by more than 4 points this season. Both teams like to possess the ball, hold on to the ball, and play defensive football. How in the world is Vanderbilt a 2-touchdown underdog against this team? I don't care what the SP Plus rankings. Your eyes will tell you Vanderbilt is objectively not 14 points worse than Kentucky going into this game. I don't understand it.
Do you think, and you know more about gambling than I do, so I'm just spitballing here. Do you think they're maybe adding in the aspect they think this might be a letdown game for Vanderbilt, considering you come off a big win?
They definitely are, but
that doesn't justify how big the spread is.
That doesn't that's a huge spread. I know Vanderbilt was at home against Alabama. Vanderbilt's a 22-point underdog against Alabama. Vanderbilt went on the road against number 7 Missouri and was a 21-point underdog that bumped down to 20.5 at one point. How is Kentucky even remotely comparable to those teams in those situations? I'm not saying Vanderbilt should be favored. I actually thought Kentucky would be 7.5, and I'd still be saying that feels a little big of a line in this situation to me. This makes no sense. Vegas has to know something. That's what Vanderbilt, I don't know if we will know. Maybe Vanderbilt has some injury we don't know about, like Stowers won't be playing or Langston won't be playing. I have no idea. But this line makes no sense. Maybe I'll be proven wrong and Vanderbilt loses by 30. I don't see that happening. But the over-under is 46. Last year, we will all remember, Vanderbilt lost 45-28 to Kentucky. Going through a couple of Kentucky's key players, number one, their quarterback, Brock Vandegrift, Georgia transfer, has been okay on the year. I won't say great, won't say bad. Has a little more ability with his legs than I think some people give him credit for, a little more athletic. On the season, he's 64 for 107, 793 yards with a 59.8% completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They also have a couple good running backs, Sumo Carnegbe, I'm going to mispronounce that, and Wilcox. Both of them kind of a two-headed monster a little bit. And, of course, the name everyone knows, wide receiver Barryon Brown. Has had a bit of an underwhelming season so far statistically, but that is a guy that is an absolute weapon, similar in explosive capability to Ryan Williams last week. I don't think anybody is like Ryan Williams, but Kentucky has some explosive playmakers on the outside. And then shifting to the defense, this is the well, it's going to be in my keys, but Kentucky has a big defensive lineman, number 0, Deion Walker.
Yeah.
And he's a dog. Yeah. And that's going to be the number one challenge of this game, is dealing with him. So I'm just going to jump in because I'm tired already to my number one key of the game. My number one key of the game is you have to once again win the line of scrimmage. And this Kentucky defensive line, I know it sounds insane, is just as good or better than that Alabama defensive line. Handling Deion Walker is the number one task for this team going into the Kentucky game. If they can't move him off the ball and get those read option plays going, Vanderbilt will lose by more than 14 to this Kentucky team. But I think they can do it. I believe in Tim Beck. I think they will be able to scheme away, but that's a big man to move off the front. And Phoebe, it's not the time.
No.
That's a big man to move up front. So my key number one is very obvious, very simple to say, but you have to be able to create space against this Kentucky defensive line.
Yeah, so that was going to be my key number one, as well as going to be neutralizing Deion Walker. So I'm going to go a little bit, and I'm going to say you're going to have to get the run game going like they did against Alabama. I think that's Vanderbilt's bread and butter. If you can run the ball, if you're Vanderbilt and you can run the ball, you have a really good shot at winning. I would like to see A.J. Newberry get a little bit more carries. I think Seti has been nothing short of sensational. Offensive line got to keep the ball rolling.
You think that's Vanderbilt's bread and butter? You think running the ball is Vanderbilt's bread and butter?
Yeah.
You think?
I think. Do I know? No, but
yes,
do I think? Yes.
I know it is. As a team that's running the ball over 60% of the time. My key number two, this is a little convoluted because it's kind of contradictory a little bit, but it's just going to be stick to your game plan, but you have to create some explosive plays. So basically do what you do. I think Kentucky's going to create some problems for Vanderbilt running the football. I think you're going to have some drives that don't look as crisp. You're going to struggle, have some 3 and outs. Stick to it. You have to stick with what you do, and I think Vanderbilt will do that. But you also have to have the explosive play aspect, which has been severely lacking until this Alabama game. You saw a little bit of it against Virginia Tech. You didn't really see a ton of it against Missouri or against Georgia State, and then you saw some of it against Alabama. You have to have those big plays that you're basically setting up with your read options. So that's my key number 2. Stick to your game plan. Continue to do what you do, because I think you are going to run into some roadblocks here, but you have to have the ability to take the top off the defense, and I think Vanderbilt has shown they can do that on occasion.
My key takeaway number 2, or my key to the game, is going to be make Kentucky beat you through the air. Brock Vandegrift through these games, like you said, not a great passer. The most completions he's had in a game is 27. The highest completion percentage he has is about 67%, which isn't awful. It's actually pretty decent. But I think Kentucky, like always with traditional Kentucky teams, love to run the ball, love to get physical. I think that's what Vanderbilt did against Alabama, is they said, hey, we're going to neutralize the run, and Jalen Milroe, if you can beat us with your arm, then by God, so do it. If I'm Clark Lee, I think you go into this game with that same mentality and you say, hey, Brock Vandegrift, we're going to shut down the run, and we're going to try and make you beat us with your arm. And if you can do it, then kudos to you. You did it. If I'm Vanderbilt, first thing I do is stop the run.
Yeah, I'm running on fumes right now. My key number 3, I'm going to use a quote my old high school basketball coach used to say all the time. Control the controllables. And that entails, for me in this football game, that entails win the turnover battle again. Vanderbilt has consistently done that the entire season, and something they have not consistently done all season, but they did against Alabama, win penalties. Win the penalties. This game against Alabama was the first time Vanderbilt has not won. What is that stat? The EPA.
Yeah.
The EPA offensive efficiency stat. This is the first time that Vanderbilt has not won that stat. According to that stat, Vanderbilt should be 4-1 with Alabama being the only loss. Instead, Vanderbilt is 3-2, and they beat Alabama because they didn't turn the ball over. And more importantly, I think, or just as important, they did not commit those stupid penalties that kill drives.
Absolutely.
And that contributes to why they dominated time of possession so well, is they did not commit drive-killing penalties. So win the turnover battle. That's a given for this team every single week. Might not even say it anymore. It's such a given. But win the penalties. Keep the discipline. Control the controllables.
Yeah.
That's my key number 3.
Yeah. So my key number 3, it's simple. It's a cliche, but cliches are cliches because they're true. You're going to have to get pressure on Brock Vandegrift. You're going to have to make him uncomfortable. I think at times Vanderbilt did a good job of that against Jalen Milroe, but also at times I thought they did a pretty poor job in terms of getting pressure on Jalen Milroe. I think traditionally through these first couple games, quarterbacks have had a lot of time in the pocket. I would like to see Vanderbilt sort of clean that up and get a lot more pressure on the quarterback. I think with this offense, I think Vanderbilt can be aggressive and it not kill them like it would, say, against a team like Alabama or a team like Mizzou that has a ton of weapons on the outside. I know they have Byrum Brown. I know they have Dante Key, but those aren't comparable to the types of guys like Luther Burden or Ryan Williams. I think Vanderbilt can sort of take the top off and be really aggressive. I'm not a Byrum Brown truther like I am Luther Burden or Ryan Williams personally. I don't think he's in their league. He's fast, but he doesn't have the ball. He doesn't have the body control they do.
I think it is very difficult to say because we've already given our props to Vandegrift, but it's tough to say when Byrum Brown is objectively playing for a quarterback that couldn't hold the jock strap of Jalen Milroe or Brady Cook, and I don't even think Brady Cook's that good.
That is fair.
Vandegrift's a bottom 3 quarterback. You're not going to be able to put up numbers with Vandegrift as your quarterback.
He'll be the second worst quarterback Vanderbilt has faced to this point.
I would say Alcorn State and Georgia State's quarterback.
Sorry, I totally forgot we played Alcorn State, so third. My bad.
But I will say we never disagree on keys because generally the keys are pretty obvious. But I will say I'm looking at it from a very different perspective. I would actually, if I had to give a spin on your key 3, I would say almost the opposite. Is you cannot give up explosive plays. That's what will lose you the game. So you are okay keeping this as a grinded out game, moves quickly. That's what you want. If you give up a couple big explosive touchdowns to Byrum Brown, it's over. You've lost. So I would even say play it more how you played against Missouri and just play a big shell coverage, allow them to pick up underneath, and eventually you are going to get to the quarterback and get some stops. So we'll see how they actually approach it.
It's just I just don't trust Brock Vandegrift to make those throws.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just my thing. Is I think they have some leeway there.
Yep. So let's get to our predictions, Trevor. You want to go ahead and get yours out first?
I will go ahead and get mine out. I hope the boys come out firing. Clark Lee said in their presser today he really likes where the team is at mentally. I love to hear that after a big win like that. Keep the focus on Kentucky. I think the Doors go to Lexington. Am I drinking the juice? Hell yeah, I'm drinking the juice. I'm going to let it fly. I think the Doors go up to Lexington. I think the Doors get a big win. I think the Doors win 34-17.
Wow.
I think the Doors win 34-17. I don't think it's close. Kentucky puts up 17 points, but throughout the game, the vibe is they never really had a chance.
Wow.
I'm very confident right now.
So Kentucky coming off the bye week in a similar spot to what Vanderbilt was last week going into Alabama. Vanderbilt's obviously going to be physically beaten up after the Alabama game, similar to how Alabama was after Georgia. Vanderbilt's coming off probably the highest emotional high that any of those players have ever experienced. So many distractions around you. This is basically a game that is impossible to get focused in for, pretty much from the Vanderbilt side. I mean, you've had national exposure that you never even thought was possible. Everything would point to a letdown game for Vanderbilt and that they're going to lose. But do you think I'm going to predict a loss? Do you think I'm going to predict a loss after what I just saw in First Bank Stadium on Saturday? Vanderbilt goes up into Lexington, beats Kentucky 27-20. I will disagree a bit on how they went. I think it's going to be a slug it out, grind it out game, and Vanderbilt's able to pull ahead 27-14, 27-17 late, and Kentucky scores again, and the Vanderbilt's able to run out the clock. Or something along those lines. I think it's going to be I think these two teams have a lot of differences, but in a lot of ways they are very, very similar.
The offensive philosophy is the same. They are very close.
They're very different, but they are similar in how they want the flow of the game to go. I think this will be a fast game. I think this will be a limited possessions game. I think that does favor Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. Vanderbilt takes care of the ball. They've taken care of the ball all year. So I think Vanderbilt wins a tight win in Lexington, 27-20. Trevor thinks Vanderbilt goes out and dominates 34-17. Trevor will be up in Lexington to watch the Doors take on the Wildcats in person. Trevor, we've got to wrap this up.
Yep. Last thing I'll say is I will follow the boys to the seventh ring of hell. Kroger sucks. It was always Publix.
Shout out to Clark Lee. Shout out to Barton Simmons. Shout out to all those players. Shout out to all the fans that showed up week after week after week. You all deserve this. Enjoy it. And let's beat some Wildcat ass this Saturday. For myself, Will Byrum, and my co-host, Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 285 of The Door Report, powered by 615 Collective.